item? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this item? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this item? The public hearing for item number 4 is closed. Item number 5 is a variance request from Grant Lloyd, 563 Trudy's Trail, Martin, parcel 072B065. The property is currently zoned as residential single. The proposed action to be taken is to grant a variance for a second residence on the property. Recommendation from the Planning Commission is to approve as requested. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this item? If you'll come and state your name and address for the record.
Lisa Lloyd, 563 Trudy's Trail. And we were just looking to be able to store our boats, skis, things. We've had vandalism, and we do want to run plumbing to it, which is why we had to have the variance to have bathroom in there and such. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this item? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this item? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this item? The public hearing for item number 5 is closed. Our next item is a variance request from Michael Cahalan, 1328 Lakeside Trail, Martin, parcel 072G001. The property is currently zoned as residential single. The proposed action to be taken is to grant a variance to allow for accessory use prior to the principal use. The recommendation from the Planning Commission is to approve as requested. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this item? If you'll give your name and address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Michael Cahalan. I'm the owner of 1320 Lakeside Trail. Our plan is to build a garage first before we build our permanent residence, so we just want to do it kind of backwards, but that's our plan, and appreciate any consideration you give me. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this item? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this item? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this item? The public hearing for item number 6 is closed. Item number 7 is a conditional use request from Owen Wynn, 1329 D4 Road, Toccoa, parcel 052B006. The property is currently zoned as agricultural intensive. The proposed action to be taken is to grant a conditional use permit to allow for up to 12 poultry houses. The recommendation from the Planning Commission is to approve this item contingent upon meeting setback requirements, providing an updated site plan, and establishing a 50-foot vegetative buffer between the property and residential uses. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this item? If you'll give your name and address for the record.
My name is Walter Reed. I'm here to speak on behalf of Ms. Wynn.
Yeah, can we raise that up for him?
Or just pick it up like it.
Okay, but I'm here to speak on her behalf. She filed a request to build up to 12 poultry houses on the full road. She has a commitment there for 6 houses, and that was the first project. Now, maybe if I'd have known the opposition involved, maybe I wouldn't have requested 12. But at least I'd like to build 6. You know, and if we could build, we could come back in front of the board later on if we decided to build more. Right now, we don't have a commitment for only 6 houses. Ms. Wynn moved to Stevens County over a year ago. Shortly after she moved here, she started looking for a piece of property to build a poultry farm. The property became available on the 4 rows. It's 135 acres. The action was so intense on it that they took sealed bids and the high bid bought the property. She happened to be the high bid. Now, she would never bid on this property had it not been zoned ag intensive. So, that is the only reason she bought the property. Now, so far as she's not at all happy about the opposition she's receiving on this. But she also has an interest in this property to do something with it to make it worthwhile. If she would somehow not be able to build these chicken houses, she would take a loss on this property. So I appreciate y'all's consideration.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this item? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this item? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this item? If you'll state your name and address for the record.
My name is Willie Woodruff. Hold on a minute. Don't start my 10 minutes yet. I'm going to start it now.
Got it.
My name is Willie Woodruff, and I'm here to talk about this property. We understand people are not anti-agriculture. We're all little chicken. I only eat chicken and fish. So there's got to be a lot of chicken produced for me to get me this size. But we're talking about also not a loss of one person, but we're talking about a loss for a whole neighborhood of people, over 100 property owners. Research shows that when we have these massive animal feeding industries, within a half-a-mile radius, the property loss is up to 44%. And then from a half a mile up to a mile, it decreases. So if you go to page 101 in your packet, and if you put up Exhibit 2, for those who are in the audience, is there a chance to enlarge that at all? That map has a green circle around it. It shows the houses. Slide it up a little bit, we see the bottom of it. There we go, up a little bit more. Slide it up a little more. Is this count toward my 10 minutes? I hope not. Can you slide the screen up? We want to see the bottom of this map. There we go, right there. So if you see right here, this is the subject property, 52B006. Just south of that is this whole concentration of all one residents, period. And the people that we're talking about right here, there's a little tract right here, a 1 acre tract that you can't see, but it's right at the bottom of the triangle. And then the rest of it, so you have all of these people who are going to suffer a loss of the property value because they are residential, single residential places. We did a printout that is over 100 people right there who are subject to lose value. Now, if you will scroll this so we can see it closer to the top of the map. Now, wait, before we do that, in the bottom half of this property here, that's where the chicken houses are going to be. In the bottom 1/3 of this piece of property. Now, let's go and we go up north. Let's go to the northern part of this parcel of land. Can we scroll up? Yes. So up there, we have not so dense population of people. But the chicken houses are not being proposed to be put on the northern part of that property, but it's being proposed to be put on the southern part of that property. And so if anybody was going to go and bid on the property sight unseen, then that's the problem that they have. But if you went and examined that piece of property before you purchased it, you would have seen that you have a high concentration of single-family residences that's right in the area where you think you might be putting some poultry houses. That's just the first part of what I want to say on that. But let me get to, and I provided most of you with an outline So let's talk about this application process. The application process says that there's supposed to be a letter of intent in it. When you do the application, there's supposed to be a letter of intent. There's no letter of intent. Now, you may say what the application itself talks about the letter of intent, but the letter of intent talks about that it's supposed to meet certain standards. Now, there's some discussion about whether or not the application should meet those standards, but certainly the county commissioners have to look to see if these standards will meet.
That's been mentioned is...
For the record, we need your name and address.
Marie Cochran, 166 Sunset Road, Toccoa, Georgia. That land was cleared of all the trees, so there was already profit made. So let's start with that. And through the clearing of that property, the real nature of that property was revealed. Because one of the questions that I had when we had our first community meeting with my friends and neighbors is, what's the story of that land? Well, when that property was cleared, there was a grave, one headstone, but several other stones that let us know that that had been a burial site. One headstone that they were aware of because they didn't knock it over. They didn't take it home as a souvenir. So even then, they were aware of this land possibly being problematic. I brought this up at the last meeting. We were all agreeing, we're all learning together. Whether you have no degree, no GED, a PhD, or whatever, many of us are learning about these things for the very first time. So I brought that up, and we would already say that we were woefully underserved by the advisory committee. You were as well. Because no one even answered that question when I brought it to the attention of the people who are making decisions to move it on to you. So, there's a Mr. Thomas Benjamin Sims, born 1837, died 1880, and he was a Confederate soldier on that property. Now, we also know, because of the problematic history of this town, this community, that Toccoa is a Cherokee word. Stevens County is the name of Alexander Stevens, who was the vice president of the Confederacy. Named after this county, this very building that we are in now. So there's so much information that is not known that should be known about that land before anything else happens. Now, some of the people may say in their rebuttal that the chicken houses are not going to be sited on that land. We don't know where those graves are. We've been told that there's going to be berms put in to protect Ms. Juanita's home, that trees are going to be put in. So that means a disruption of that land. How can we even turn over another stump or move another teaspoon of red soil from that land before we find out more about it? And one of the things, like I said, is that we've been having to accelerate our education about this land. Me as well, someone who's deeply interested in Southern history, Appalachian history. So I invited Dr. Nesbitt to come from the University of Georgia to add to what we know or are learning about this land. Would you like to come up, Scott? If possible, because I haven't finished my 10. If he has 10, let's do it that way, because I'm meeting him for the first time tonight because we've been in conversation back and forth, but I want him to talk a little bit about the responsibilities of the county to this issue.
Once you finish, he can come up. Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody else want to speak on this land at this particular time? Because I
Put away childish things, so those things don't matter anymore. But what does matter is how you perceive things now. I guarantee you, if you had the opportunity to stand before someone who was putting something in your neighborhood that was going to affect your household, your family, your children, this would not be a conversation of topic.
So
Please let me finish. The floor will be open for you.
I just want to ask you a question.
You can. I will allow that. Not a problem. I'm just stating, if you guys approve this, put your money where your mouth is. Y'all buy a piece of his property
And y'all lived there for 2 years in that stench and that smell and those rats and all the infestation that comes along with it. And let's just see how you feel when it's affecting your family. I am so livid to see some of you people that I know personally, that I've been around, sit up here and just think that this is just some kind of, oh well, it doesn't affect me. It's money in my pocket. Money doesn't always be everything, you know. It's the root of the evil. I thank Ms. Hayes for bringing that spiritual impact to you guys, because it needs to be said. Sometimes we forget God comes first. Put God first, and you go home and pray about these decisions before you put them up here and you start saying, oh, let's vote this in. You got to do that. And that is the part that I'm bringing. Please do not do things that you wouldn't have done to yourself. Put us first at some point, just like you would do your own family. And that's all I have. And your question is?
So you stated that I lived there as a child. Well, in this picture right here, this is my grandparents' current home, right here. So I'm out there every week. My aunt and uncle live here and here. So I'm just saying that I don't want you to make an assumption that I don't have an appreciation just because I was a child.
Okay.
My family still,
I'm
my
pretty
family
upset
still
about the
lives
comment
there.
about my daughter.
Okay.
No, I'm not
And
holding
then another thing on that, when I say child doesn't always mean a baby. Because you can be a child in your mind.
So
you know what I'm saying?
I
So
understand.
I think a lot of immaturity is going on when I say child.
Okay.
But evidently it hit home for you because you wanted to make sure you brought that to my attention. And that's okay that it hit home because I want it to hit home. This is the part that I want to make very clear. You was raised in that, so you should know better. You should feel different. But because you moved away, you probably don't have to deal with it anymore. It's not that much of a concern. That is what I'm stating.
So I have had the pleasure to meet you, but I've spent a tremendous amount of time on this issue in your community. I've met with a large volume of the people that are in this room. So I am listening. So I'm not going to lie, it does offend me that you're kind of attacking that I don't care or I haven't spent my time, because Miss Marie will validate that I have spent my time.
Once
And I've
again,
went
I
out
think
there-
the hit dog will bark because I never said you.
You looked at me and then
No,
asked
sir,
me a
I've been
direct
looking at
question.
everybody up here on this panel.
Okay.
Exactly.
No, when you bring my granddaughter into this and say sitting there oblivious, her father just died. She's a Whitlock. She's been through more than you ever know. I grew up in the darn junkyard. Don't act like I don't know about hard times. Putting money in my pocket about this, ain't nobody put no money in my pocket. You need to call a break because I gotta walk outside.
Dennis, can you call?
Don't bring my granddaughter into this.
All right, we're gonna have a break for a few minutes.
Thank you so much for those who are listening. Appreciate it.
I've been listening, I promise.
Ma'am, we've taken our private time and come out to your community. It's offensive when you don't know what we've done.
All right, we're taking a break.
I'm sorry because that was my truth, my understanding, what I witnessed.
It's not the truth.
So what I was saying, I didn't say y'all didn't go into the community. I said I sat up here and watched giggling and playing on the phone.
You didn't watch that from me,
I did not say you. I didn't even name any names.
Well, I can
I did
smile,
not.
so sorry.
But I thank you because obviously it hit home somewhere.
She was actually looking up Georgia law,
Thank you. Thank you.
I can't look up Georgia law. Yes. Use my computer.
5 minutes. That was uncalled for. This one.
Well, she attacked her, though. She was upset, I could tell. Debbie was looking at the statue. She was looking at the statue. I mean, she was asking me questions about the statue. She has the right to ask the county attorney questions about the statue. I I'm just saying that lady was misconstruing. Debbie was asking me questions about the cemetery statute. That's wrong.
Chuck. All right. All right, we're back in order.
Oh. Yeah, I do too. Don't laugh at me taking up context. He's basically saying we had our phones looking at him because when somebody brought up the Georgia statute, I went to the code because I wanted to see what it had to say.
Let me see your microphone. Okay.
Yours is like off.
Wow. I don't know. That ain't working either. It's a dead spot right here.
Can you hear me now?
They all dead.
They all dead. They turned.
I probably blew him out.
Hi. I.
Acres of land. My mom owned 14 acres of land. I pay taxes, I vote. I try to represent myself in a way that would be pleasing of a resident of Stevens County. I have lived here 65 years on the property that my mom owns now. I was raised there. We do have a loving community. The lady that was sitting right here in the wheelchair, and I think y'all probably stood on her porch this week, and I appreciate that because you did come.
Thank you.
You did come to our community to see what was going on. And for that, I say thank you. Because you didn't have to do it, but you did. Now, the issue at hand is that they want to build these 12 chicken houses over on the property. That's going to affect everyone in this room. And when it starts to affect the many, instead of the one, then there's an outcry. And we're up here with our outcry to say we understand Stevens County needs revenue. We understand that the chicken houses want to be built over on that piece of property. But we also understand that the decision lies in each of your hands.
And I want to stand here and say, I also had 3 children. You went to school with them. Worked with your father.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, have known Dennis. You represented my son when he was in trouble. I know all of you. And I think I served on the community chamber board with you, Mr. Wright, right? I want to stand and say that we all understand that you have a duty to do. We all understand that you have a decision to make. But when you look out in this room, you see all of the families. I think Mr. Woodruff said there was over 100 families that's going to be impacted by this decision. I applaud them for wanting to build the businesses. We need the industry. But I want you to take into consideration my taxes I already pay is out the wazoo just on my one piece of property. Multiply that by 100. Is the tax implication from the 100 going to be impacted by the 1? I know revenues is needed. I totally get it. Everybody in here gets it. But is it fair to our community where we've lived and invested all of our lives? My mom worked till she was 82 years old. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She wanted to give back to this community. Is it worth impacting everyone in this room on the decision that could be made tonight? Don't know when you're going to make your decision. You may have already made it. Don't know. But I would ask that you would consider, look at all these people out here that pay taxes. Look at them. We all pay taxes. But would you at least take our fight into consideration when you make your decision? Over 100, and how many, Mr. Woodruff? Well, over 100 people that's going to be impacted by this decision. Thank y'all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this item?
Good evening, ma'am and sirs. My name is Byron Barmore, and I own land on 695 Hayes Road. I just want to bounce off Sister Goldberg. My mom is 87 years old, still living, health issues. My daddy is 90 years old, still living, health issues. That land that Sister Goldberg was talking about, her mother owned. Now I owned 7.5 acres beside that lot. And then there's a couple more tracts on the other side where my mom and dad own 7.5 acres. I'm standing here to say that I know that business is needed, and I do understand. But echoing off what Sister Goldberg said, I would hate for however many, I don't know what the specs say. Have anybody got the total number right? It really doesn't matter to me if it's 100 or 200. But when you get into the volume of that many people, livelihoods, as to one livelihood, to me it's a no-brainer. It's really a no-brainer when you got that many people. I heard earlier about I think it's Walbrews over there by Coast and Clark. how bad that problem was and that smell was and how bad we put up with it for however many years it was. Then we had to retract and fix a problem. So now my mindset is, why even go there and start a problem that we don't have to? I heard earlier in previous meetings, and I heard today, that it's going to be a loss if they're not allowed to do what they want to do. I'm a businessman. I bought that property because I use it as an investment in a rental spot. But when I made that decision, I didn't know if I was going to have somebody living in it or not. I just invested. So when they made the decision to buy that property, that was an investment. It ain't guaranteed it's going to work. So when we make personal decisions, we got to live with them, good or bad. So that's not really our problem. I hate that they may have a loss, but it's not really my concern. When I made the decision to invest, it wasn't nobody else's decision. It was mine, good or bad. While I'm standing, I want to bring up also, my church is right on the corner on Whispering Pine. We built that gorgeous Family Life Center for our present and our future. Now, how is this going to impact my church? You know, we have the spring of the year going on. Easter's coming. All those things, when we get outside and play with our kids, our grandkids, we have opened that community to the whole neighborhood. So this is going to hurt the church. So I'm standing here really arguing on three behalves. My family, my mom and dad help, because they don't need to live around that. My children and grandchildren investing or in getting my property when I die. I got less time than I've had. I know that. So I don't want them to have to try to get rid of it because they can't use it. And then my church. I pray, and I know I wouldn't want to be in y'all position. I wouldn't want to be there. I'm just going to be honest with you. I wouldn't want to say yes or no to something this big. This side, you got lives that you're going to impact. And on this side, you got a life and financial. I do pray. I hope in my heart that y'all see that how big it is going to be on the community. I know we have to have chicken houses because we like 90% of people eat chicken. We got to have a. But why can't we have the chicken houses in a rural area where they're not houses? You're going to set these houses right in the middle of a community. You got four sides that it's going to affect. If you're out here in the rural, you might not have one road, a dead-end road, and maybe a house here or there. But as Mr. Woodruff said earlier, you got 100 houses that it's going to affect. Am I correct? I understand the business aspect, but the personal aspect and the livelihood aspect, I go back and say again, to me, it is a no-brainer. Why would you impact that many lives for one person? I just don't understand. I don't understand why we got this far. But it's real. And there's a decision that y'all have to make. But there again, I wouldn't want to be in y'all positions. I wouldn't. But somebody got to make a decision. Somebody got to put on the big boy drawers and big girl drawers and say yes or no. I'm just going to keep it plain. I'm going to keep it real. And I don't care which way you go, you're going to offend somebody. But y'all chose those jobs, so y'all was elected those jobs. So that's y'all responsibility. I appreciate you listening. I hope I said something that made a difference. But if I didn't, I did what God told me I had to do today. Because I have struggled. I listen to people say this. I'll be honest. I get tired of hearing the same story. Everybody's saying the same thing. I personally done got tired of hearing it. But I said that, I said, Byron, it's your time to stand up, do what God has told you to do. If you are heard, great. If you hadn't, it's off you. I pray that y'all see it our way. But if you don't, if I see you, I still speak to you. Because somebody got to make a decision. And everybody ain't going to be happy. I know the majority will be happy if we go one way.
Thank you, Byron.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this item? Public hearing for item number 7.
Probably worth 500, because I didn't want to see it disturbed. Right. So that's that issue. Second issue is property values. I know over on Freeman Creek Road in Buena Vista, there's 8 big chicken houses up there. They've been new houses built there with less than a half a mile. I can take you throughout Stevens County and Franklin County and show you where new homes have been built within a quarter-mile of chicken houses. The third issue is, if you go out and look at the property, where these 6 houses are going to be built are not going to be visible from DeFore Road, Whispering Pines, or back over on Kenner Road. In addition to the 135 acres she purchased there, she also bought the 47 acres behind it to Kenner Road and on the other side of Kenner Road. Now, the way we're going to station these houses, if we can build them, is the tunnel fans are going to be facing north, which is away from DeFore Road, back toward Kenner Road and the property that she owns. Now, at the Planning Commission meeting, there was a lot of opposition to the setbacks, and they recommended that we move the setbacks further. I moved the setbacks, I had it redrawn to move the setbacks 450 feet from any property line. There's only one house over there that's impacted by that, and that's on the corner of the property going down toward Kenner Road. The first house there is impacted. They said they recommended planting some trees behind that house. I decided the best thing to do is put a 6-foot berm behind that house all the way and plant lealands on top of the berm. So if you look at this land, take a good look at it, how I'm going to have to grade it. Those houses are not even going to be visible. My plan for the property is, if we build chicken houses, is to clear all that land. It's already cleared. Now, she bought the property. It was appraised 10 years ago for $200,000 of timber. We had it appraised for $170,000. That timber was in decline. It needed to be cut. That's why we cut it. I've talked to other people that bid on that property, and that was all their intentions, was to cut that timber. Most people bought the land for the timber. Miss Wynn bought it for a poultry farm. If we build it, we're going to clear all those dead trees out and plant a pasture back there. There will be no more trees. So, I hope that this has answered your questions. Like I said, y'all got a tough decision to make, and I appreciate that too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's what we're gonna go with code section. Okay. Anything else? Close the public hearing.
Public hearing is closed.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and call our meeting to order now. Thank everyone for coming. I know it's been a long meeting, and look, I'm glad you come and told your stories and shared them with us, because I want to hear it as well as everybody else does out here. We want to make sure that we give the citizens of this county the time to put in input where we can hear your discussion and concern. Mr. Teasley, we need a well-needed prayer and a pledge of allegiance, sir.
Let us bow. Our wise and powerful God, we come this afternoon, Lord. First, we're just going to thank you for everything you've already done for us, Lord. We thank you for this county, dear God. We thank you for Stevens County as a whole. We thank you, Father God, for these board of commissioners. We ask this in you, Lord, that you give them wisdom and give them understanding, that they may make the decision of this county, dear God. We just pray, Father God, that you not only bless them, but bless the citizens of this county, oh Father God. We thank you for allowing them to come out and speak, Father God. We pray, Father God, that whatever said or whatever done this afternoon is pleasing in your sight, Father God. And we'll be careful, Father God, that you get the praise, you get the honor, and you get every bit of the glory. For it's in the mighty name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Teasley. All righty, we have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? None. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Agenda's been approved. Our minutes from March 14th, 2023 for the regular meetings, everyone had time to look at all this, or any deletions or additions to that? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Go into new business.
Our first item of new business is a variance request from Vasco Lowry, 31 Memorial Drive, East Denali, parcel 043242. The proposed action is to grant a lot size variance less than 1.5 acres for 0.49 acres.
Motion to approve the
Second.
variance request.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
The next item is also for Mr. Lowry, same property, same parcel. The proposed action to be taken is to grant a lot size variance less than 1.5 acres for 0.74 acres.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Our third item is a variance request from Conrad Craig, 1680 Harbert Valley Road, Toccoa, parcel 058025. The proposed action is to grant a variance to allow for accessory use prior to the principal use.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to grant variance.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Our next item is a variance request from Ted Donnelly, 36 Grady Brock Road, Martin, parcel 068103. The proposed action to be taken is to grant a variance to allow for accessory use prior to the principal use.
Motion to grant the variance.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Our next item is a variance request from Grant Lloyd, 563 Trudy's Trail, Martin, parcel 072B065. The proposed action to be taken is to grant a variance for a second residence on the property.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Our next item is a variance request from Michael Cahalan, 1328 Lakeside Trail, Martin, parcel 072G001. The proposed action to be taken is to grant a variance to allow for accessory use prior to the principal use.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Our next item is a conditional use request from Owen Wynn, 1329 D4 Road, Toccoa, parcel 052B006. The proposed action to be taken is to grant a conditional use permit to allow for up to 12 poultry houses.
Do I hear a motion?
I would make a motion for us to consider 6 houses with the following stipulations. So 750-foot setbacks. The berm to be constructed at the 750-foot setback, at least 6 foot tall with trees planted on top of it. A dedicated travel path so that traffic to the chicken houses can only come from one direction, so there's less impact on the community. The blowers to point north to the property that Miss Wynn owns, and that there would be no disturbance of the grave site, and there would be a 300-foot setback established to the grave site.
I'll second Mr. Rickman's motion.
No, excuse me, I had to write that down. Okay, you clear on the motion?
You repeat the motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So the motion would be for 6 chicken houses with a 750-foot setback, a berm to be constructed on the southeast corner at a minimum of 6 foot tall at the 750-foot setback, a dedicated travel route, one direction only, can't come in from both sides. The houses would have the blowers face north, as described towards the property that Ms. Wynn owns. There would be no disturbance of the grave site and a buffer of 300-foot setback established around the grave site.
Is everybody clear on the motion? All the commissioners clear? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, there's lots of discussion. So obviously it's a passionate issue. I apologize for getting upset earlier. It's important to me, and I tried very hard to get very involved in this issue, spend time in the community, and evaluate the situation. The land was zoned AI when we put this ordinance in place as a community in 2014. We weren't sitting here in 2014, but we did that as a community, right, wrong, or indifferent. So when the land was purchased, that AI zoning was there. So the landowner had, or the purchaser of the land had no idea that they may not be able to do what they want to do with the land, with the understanding they'd have to come get a conditional permit. The passion and the outpouring from the community has been actually uplifting. I know it's a hard decision for us to make, but I really believe it's built a foundation for future communication. Some of you may not agree, but I've enjoyed the conversations I've had and the time I've spent out there evaluating this situation. So whichever way this goes tonight, I hope we can walk away from here as neighbors, as a community, and move forward to make decisions to make Stevens County better. But again, I really just appreciate everybody coming out tonight and expressing your views and having interaction with us.
I'm not as apologetic as he is. However, I do want to mention that I think this is my third chicken house fight, and whatever you want to call it. And the first one, I think, was the Huttos. And they wanted 8 chicken houses on 107 acres of property. And the community came out. There were more of them than there are y'all that came out in opposition. They came out, they signed petitions. I forget how many signatures they had. I called Mr. Hutto today to talk to him about, and I think that was 2017. And so I called Mr. Hutto because I wanted to know how things have been going with his poultry houses and with the community that was so upset with him in the very beginning. And he said that since that time, many of them had apologized to him for signing the petition, for being so upset. That I know of, we've had no complaints here at the county. He said he hasn't had, his relationship with his neighbors is good. He said there's two that are still upset, but other than that, out of the hundreds, or I don't even know how many back then, that were in opposition, did go to him and apologize. And so, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I do know how I'm going to vote. I have talked to a few of you, and I have never lied about, to me, this isn't about them or their business. I'm pro-agriculture. I'm a friend of the farmer. And I'm a friend of a lot of y'all's. And I'm big on my family, in case you didn't notice. Just like I know y'all are. And y'all hear about, your lives and your families, and I get that. Because I'm, as you know, I'm defensive of my family. And so I get that. But I do want to give you some hope, because Mr. Hutto did say that things are going very well. There have been no issues over there, and everybody's getting along. Yes. Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know.
Not right now, you can't.
Oh, well, you may be one of the ones that he's not getting along with. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, this ain't a public hearing or nothing like that right now. Go ahead with this is a business meeting we're in right now.
Okay, but, and he like I said, he said a lot of people had apologized to him and it had been going well. There were a couple, he said, still weren't real happy. But in general, it's okay. And, I'm not here to hurt anybody. I mean, I almost just feel like resigning over this. Because I just can't, I can't. I don't want to have to deal with stuff like this. I just don't. I really don't. I became a commissioner because I wanted to help people. And I darn sure, if anybody knows me, I look out for the underdog more times than not. I'm up here by myself opposing things for people that ain't got nothing. And a voice for them. But, I have a heart for the farmers and for agriculture. And and I believe in people being able to do what they want with their property, especially when you have 135 acres of it. And I'm sorry if my decision upsets anybody, but that's my decision. And when I talked to some of you in your community who came to me, I was very honest about that. I never lied about it or acted like I may do this or that. I was very upfront about my feelings, so it was never a big secret. And that's all I got to say about that.
Anything else? I'm going to say this. Our community has got to stick together through thick and thin, no matter what. Probably going to surprise some folks here, but as I look at the density of the housing, and I know all the families down there, some of you helped raise me up. It's a very hard decision to make. But it's one that's going to take a quorum or a majority to pass. I'm a friend of agriculture as much as anybody is, and I love farmers. My opinion, Mr. Chip Prather said something earlier that I wrote down. Money is not more important than families. And that's how I'm going to feel. That's how I feel. we gotta have chicken houses because a lot of people eat chicken. I do. You can tell, look, I eat anything come in front of me bad. And that's the reason I have to tell Debbie and Terry sometimes to get up and let me slide by behind them. But I want to thank our community for coming together. Again, we got to come in as one through thick and thin. This is a tough job. We asked for the job, and we got to do the job. You're not going to satisfy everybody, y'all. But one thing we will do, and we should do, have faith in our community, love one another, and do the best we can to help each other. All right, any more discussion?
I would just say there's what your heart tells you to do, and there's what the law says you have to do. And Stephens County can be open to lawsuit if we vote a certain way. And so what my heart tells me to do is very different than what the law says to do. And unfortunately, I'm an attorney and I follow the law, and that's what I have to do in this situation. So.
All righty. All in favor of the motion that Commissioner Rickman made, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign? Aye. Motion carries.
Item number 8, board to consider motion to sign check signing authority resolution to South State Bank to replace finance director.
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Let's stop right here just a second. Let me make sure everybody's clear what's happening. Commissioner Rickman made a motion. I'm going to let you read it, Chris.
Okay.
Read it where they can hear you.
Okay. So the motion was for 6 houses with a 750-foot setback, with a berm to be constructed on the southeast corner of the property, at least 6 foot high with trees and at the 750-foot setback. A dedicated travel path for traffic so that you don't have two-way traffic into the property. The 6 houses would have the blowers face north towards the property that Ms. Wynn currently owns, and there would be no disturbance of the gravesite, and a 300-foot setback would be established around the gravesite.
Okay, so that motion passed. Okay? All right.
Is that 6?
6 houses.
Or 6 period?
So a citizen has a right to come back every 6 months. Any citizen on any land use variance, conditional permit can come back 6 months.
Okay, let's go on to our other motion.
Next item, board to consider motion to sign check signing authority resolution to First Citizens Bank to replace finance director.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Board to consider motion to declare county-owned property in Shorewood subdivision as surplus property and authorize chairman to sign resolution for sealed bid process.
Can I ask one question on that? And
Yes.
I apologize if this is in the packet. I promise y'all I read this thing inside and out. I just don't remember this. Did y'all have a minimum, because I'm going to start the process assuming you approve this. Was there going to be a minimum bid discussed? I just want to make sure that, y'all can make that part of the motion. I just want to make sure we don't glance over that.
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to approve with a minimum bid of $1,000 per parcel.
Second.
Have a motion and a second with an additional minimum bid of $1,000
Per parcel.
per parcel.
1,000 per parcel.
Right.
Okay.
All right, is there any discussion?
Yes. That's the minimum that they can do, yeah.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Next item, board to consider motion to appoint budget officer for fiscal year 2024. As you'll recall, our previous budget officer was interim finance director Phyllis Ayers. Staff recommendation is to appoint finance director James Elrod to this position.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Yeah, he's over there.
Item 12, board to consider motion to accept True Vista service agreement for special circuit and authorize chairman to sign. As I have previously explained, we are able to get double the speed at the annex for about half the price we currently pay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Next item, the board to consider motion to accept the GEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program recipient, subrecipient agreement, and authorize chairman to sign. This is for the updating of our hazard mitigation plan. There are grant funds available. Our match will constitute in kind.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Our next item is a presentation from County Fire Coordinator Chief Jonathan Jordan.
You could have picked a better night to have done this job.
Yeah, please.
Go ahead, buddy. You get your point across.
First, I want to introduce myself because I've not met Commissioner Rick. Again, I'm Jonathan Jordan. I'm your representation from the Board of Fire Chiefs. I'm also the fire chief at Big Smith Volunteer Fire Department. As you can see, I work for the city of Toccoa. I'm really glad we didn't get a call before I got to get up here. Dennis and Debbie's going to remember this, and I'll fill y'all in. A year ago, we recently purchased a HME truck out of splosh monies. It replaced an older truck, a 1999 International. And I'm here to ask for some monies to do some repairs on that truck because we have one in the county it needs to be taken out of service. It's failed pump test twice, so anytime ISO comes in, we can't get any kind of credit for that truck. So what we're hoping to do is get this truck fixed. It's going to go back to my substation down in North Holcomb. The truck that we moved down there is going to go back to Tate's Creek. The one Tate's Creek's got is going to move to East Denali so we can surplus that truck and get it out. Again, we're looking for max ISO credit. I'm not sure if y'all seen the rating, but we just barely squeaked by, and it wasn't just because of just truck equipment, so I don't want to put it off on that. Some of it's training and course personnel. We'll be back later date. I apologize for not getting this to y'all sooner, but this is an invoice from Randall Brackett. I will say there's going to be an amendment to it. The exhaust brake system is not added to this, so the price would change. I went to the Board of Fire Chiefs, and they give me $8,500 to go towards this price. What I'm asking from y'all is $5,500. That takes it up to $14,000, so I can get that exhaust brake looked at also. The truck has been there since October. Now that's not, it's just them trying to get to it and looking at parts, getting me the quote back. You can see they got me the quote back in December. And then I'm just now getting here. Of course, I had to talk to the Board of Fire Chiefs to see what I could get from them, and I didn't have to come to y'all for every dime of it. But I am asking the board for $5,500 with addition to the $85,000 through the Chiefs Council to get this truck fixed and get it back to the county.
It's got to be done. I mean, you got to have it
Yeah,
fixed.
I mean, you're looking at like a 35% increase on trucks, which that's across the board, across the world. But the trucks like we have are commercial trucks, so they build a fire truck around a international chassis or a Peterbilt chassis. We bought these trucks for less than $300,000. Current date, you're looking at a year and a half minimum to get it, and you're looking at over $400,000 for this truck. You go to customs, the city of Toccoa, and I ain't gonna get into that. The city of Toccoa just bought a truck. They're fixing to build a sister truck, and they're over $800,000 for this truck. So,
Okay.
any questions for me?
No.
I do have one,
Yes, sir.
and we do need to start working on this as far as our volunteers, because I know that they're dwindling.
Oh, yeah.
They're not only dwindling in this county, it's every
Oh,
county
it's
in the nation.
nationwide. It's nationwide.
But you as a coordinator, I'd like to set up something with you and Christian pretty quick and just get to talking about what we need to
Okay.
start looking at for the future board
Absolutely.
to start looking at.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Be careful, Jonathan. Okay. Now, is this,
Where does that come from?
Yeah, general fund.
Can we make a motion?
My suggestion, if you'd like to, is you have about $11,000 in your general fund contingencies. No, that's not your capital fund contingencies, which should last you through the end of June. So my recommendation would be to pull it from those contingencies.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
And that's 5,500. 5,500.
It's 5,500, correct, Jonathan? Okay.
From general fund contingency.
General contingency. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Jonathan. Be careful, buddy.
Thank you.
Next item, board to consider motion to participate in new opioid settlements, authorize chairman to sign resolution, and authorize county administrator to sign all documentation associated with the settlements. This is a continuation of our current settlement agreements with the
Yes.
state.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No, we've read that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Carries.
Next item, board to consider motion to approve permit fee schedule and authorize chairman to sign resolution. This is an update to our permit fee schedule, just a couple of minor changes.
Motion to approve the permit fee schedule.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, now what permit fee schedule?
It's attached. It says permit
Yeah, I
fees.
know, I didn't look at it, okay? What is it?
Go to 16. This is what we talked about, I believe, over at the retreat.
I think it's incorporating the reinspection fees, passing them on,
Yeah.
so we don't have to.
That's right. That's the main gist of it.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hear none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Next item, board to consider motion to approve fiscal year 2023 budget amendment for emergency management and authorize chairman to sign resolution.
And this is just moving money from one to the other.
This is a line item transfer.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hear none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
We'll move into our invoices over 5,000. First one is from Acre Oil in the amount of $8,374.15. Second is from Acre Oil in the amount of $16,879.76. Both of those are regular fuel drops. Our last one is from the city of Dorville for $50,000. This is for the purchase of a 2002 Sterling Acetera grapple truck. Funds are budgeted.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Everybody wants to spend money.
Let's go, man.
All right, motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No.
Hear none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, pay the bills. Administrative report.
I would like to take the opportunity, some of y'all have not had a chance yet to meet James Elrod, our new finance director. He's sitting here, and I'd like him to be able to introduce himself to y'all.
Does he want to?
This is hard.
I would say afternoon, but evening. Welcome. Glad to be here. Thank y'all for all your support and thoughts and prayers, and glad to be a part of a great county and everything going forward tonight. Looks forward to a bright future for everyone. Thank y'all. Open office. Call me, email me. Always open to any
You picked a
questions.
good night to show up, didn't you?
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much, James. We appreciate it. Department reports. Commissioners report.
He said no.
We have any matters from the citizens?
We did, I don't know if, he may have spoke during the public hearing, but Mr. Jason Garner wanted to speak on zoning? Okay.
Jason Garner, 3959 Davis Road. I highlighted a lot of my points when I spoke earlier. I need the commission everyone to understand, I wish everyone hadn't left. This is the beginning of the problem. It is starting. Like I said, since I've lived there for 9 years, there's been 37 poultry houses built. Now there will be 6 more. We're up to 43. We have to look at the entire area, not just one area. We have to look at the entire area. I'm proposing a radius zoning of how many poultry houses can be built in one area. We already have zoning saying I can only build so many apartments on a single acre lot. I mean, this is the same concept. I heard it last week or 2 weeks ago. The exact same concept. I'd love to be on the planning committee. We're looking for solutions. And these are solutions. And I respect the positions y'all are in. Y'all had a tough decision. And there's another problem. If these poultry houses find their own feed source, you're going to have a whole different problem on your hands. They'll be done with Philadelphia. Then they're going to start their own rendering plants. These are issues that has to be addressed, and I want y'all to really take it into consideration. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Mr. Stevens would also like to speak.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners.
Good evening, sir.
I want to, first of all, thank the Chairman, Commissioner Wright, and Commissioner Rickman. My wife and I are elderly. We've had a serious issue that we've been dealing with for about 14 months. Not going to go into details because y'all are aware of what's going on. I want to thank all three of you for the texts, the emails, the phone calls, the in-person conversations that I have with y'all. Y'all have been a man of your word on my situation. Y'all have kept your word. I want to thank Christian. Christian has been a man of his word of about 4 phone calls, and I don't know how many emails, but too many, but he's kept his word.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to say one more thing. I'm going to thank Vince, and I'm going to tell you why. Vince gave me doubts in the middle of last week. Christian knows this, that he wasn't going to do his job because he was put between a rock and a hard place, and I think you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But he proved me wrong Friday, because when I woke up Monday morning, it was a different horse of colors. Now, there is one still issue that you're aware of that I'm not worried about will be handled. But I came tonight on the behalf of my wife and I to thank y'all for what y'all have done, because we have had a mess of abuse and aggravation and nerve-wracking and stress for 14 long, hard months of threats of bodily harm at an elderly age, threats of property harm, and we got one county department in Stevens County that ain't worth throwing a wet bucket at. They're wasting more of the county taxpayers' money than can even be thought about. It's a disgrace that we couldn't get no help from that department for 14 months, and we had to come to you three gentlemen. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Have a good night, sir. Anybody else? Is there a need for executive session?
No, sir.
Brian?
No, sir. I was going to say yes after that.
I was going to say you can be a brave man.
Okay. I'm waiting on a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
I'm going to go get my oblivious child.